All right, so today is the 23rd of January. So we are going to start with chapter 11. So sorry, chapter 11. And then we are moving on to chapter 12. Okay, so what are we going to do on chapter 11? Chapter 11 will talk to you about managing the new product development process. Okay, if you remember yesterday, chapter 10, where we left out, chapter 10 talked about managing the new product development team. So what we understood from yesterday was how do you manage your teams? Okay, your team. I mean, who is your project team? How big is it? Are you going to have for each department? Are you going to have a team, or are you going to have a big team for the whole organization? So yesterday we were talking about having the teams. Okay, so in this chapter, chapter 11, we are going to understand. Uh, let's say your organization has come up with a new innovation already, a new product, and that's the first one. Or you are building a new product. Okay, that means you have already determined what your organization has already determined. So this is the product that we are going to build, and how are we going to manage it, or how are we going to build it? In what phases are we going to build it? Okay, so we are going to understand about this. Okay, so managing new product development process. So basically what we are trying to do is we are getting the ideas until we are going to do project launch. So that is the basic idea of this chapter. Okay, so the basic idea of this chapter is to understand how new products are being developed until the point of being launched. Okay, all right. So let us start with a simple example. We start with an example from Cisco Systems. So Cisco Systems is one of the computer IT company which was available, which is still available actually, and they are most of their products are servers, switches, routers, more of networking and more of hardware configuration. Okay, they don't have computers or laptops. Okay, they are mostly on servers, routers, switches, and things like that. Okay, so when they did any development process, okay, they will always use the waterfall model. Okay, which is this one over here. All right. What does the waterfall model do is that means they will develop one phase. One is that phase is completed, they will move on to the next phase and then move on to the next phase, like a waterfall. Okay, but since they were doing this, the project development would always take a long period of time because they have to complete one phase in order to jump to a next phase. So each project will take sometimes, even though a small project, it can go up to about 18, 19 months. All right. So in 2014, what they did was uh, they came up with a new technology. They followed a new style of development. They used the agile development process. Okay. So what the agile development process did or is doing is they do everything faster, but they still follow the waterfall model. So what they did was is in each phase they would do release, design, and build. Release, design, and build. Release, design, and build. Meaning they will try to complete as much as they can in one particular phase. All right. They will try to do two or three things together. Okay. Let's say, for example, there are 5 modules lah yang kena buat in one particular project. All right. So if they were to do in a waterfall model, they will do one, complete, stop the module, and then complete the next module, third module, until when they are finished with 5 modules, and then they will join it together and then only run. But in the agile development process, once the module is done, they will immediately run. Okay, if it's okay, all right. At the same time, they'll proceed to the next one. At the same time, they'll proceed to the next one. Or they can, what they can do is they can break down the team into 5 teams. Okay, you do module number 1, module number 2, module number 3, module number 4. So each of this module we are given 1 month. Okay, 1 million 1 month. All of them will be done, and then they will combine it together, and the project, which takes normally about 18 months, can be completed within half the period of time. So that is an agile development process. So in an agile development process, there used to be what you say several people lah. So some are product owners, the people who actually do the product, or are customers. Some are user stories, because they need to understand. So this person, his job is to read what the user wants, to understand what the user wants, and then he has to tell his fellow teammates. All right. And then we have terms like Scrum teams. Scrum teams are teams that they are only to do what is necessary. That means there is no manager. They are all what we say as runners lah. They do the development only. Scrum master, they are the coaches. That means in that small team, there's a head there. Okay, and these Scrum people are people developing the product or process, or in the development process. All right. So while what Cisco found out is, in an agile development process, rather than having a comprehensive product design, the product is consistent, incremental, and adaptive. That means the product can increment or can be adapted more easily, because every day they keep doing it, doing it, doing it, doing it. They do not wait until the end to join all the elements or all the modules. Kalau dia orang ada 5 module, they will join all together and produce it at once. Not they'll wait until the end. They got 18 months, baru they join. No. As they are complete, they will join it together. So a project which cost them about 18 months can complete within about 8 to 9 months. Okay. All right. So obviously, what are some advantages? Okay, the advantages you can see lah. Agile development process. The advantages is from 18 months now it can be completed in 9 months. So that's a very big advantage. But along with agile development, which has a lot of advantages, it also has some disadvantage. So obviously, what is the disadvantage? I mean, obviously, if you're developing something which is fast, so there might be some sorry, there might be some errors. There might be something which you overlook. Okay, so there's all some disadvantage. Okay, now let's go to a new one. How is agile development similar to or different from the stage gate process? Okay, there's another one. Tadi kita dah belajar waterfall, and then we moved on to agile. Now there's a new one, state. Yes, question. Soalan? Ada soalan ke? Sorry. No.
Doktor ada share slide ke? Saya tak nampak lah.
Oh, sorry. Baru keluar balik. Okay, can you see the slide?
Okay, baru nampak.
All right. So what have we done so far? We understood. Okay, this is agile. This is waterfall. Okay. So obviously, agile is way better than waterfall, because although it's running fast, the project can be completed within half the period of time. 18 months with agile method, you can go down to about 10 to 8 months. 9 months. But now there's a new one. Stage gate process. What is the stage gate process? And parallel development process. Okay, maybe I explain about parallel. Parallel development process is quite similar to waterfall model, or maybe agile model. In a parallel development process, if you look back at waterfall model, each phase, once it is complete, only then it goes down to the next phase: requirement, design, implementation, testing, and maintenance. If in a parallel state, while doing requirement, at the same time it can do design. At the same time of design, it can do implementation. At the same time, it can do testing. At the same time, it can do maintenance. All right. So that is parallel. You do 2 or 3 jobs at one particular point of time. But what is stage gate process? So stage gate process it can be applied to any development process, be it waterfall, be it agile or parallel. But in each phase, there each what we say as a gate. So each phase is known as a stage, and each at the end of each stage, at the end of each stage, there is a gate. So ini the gate tu bukannya macam ada gate betul lah. So what is trying to highlight here is whenever the phase or the stage is complete, then you will come to a gate state. So the gate will determine if this process can continue to the next stage or the next phase. Okay. So if the process is not completed or this in this stage, then it will be redone, and completed. Only then it can move to the next next stage. So the gate is like a gatekeeper to determine if that particular phase is complete or is done. Only then it moves on to the next particular phase. All right. So that is the stage gate process. So the stage gate process can be applied to any form of development process, whether you're doing agile, whether you're doing parallel, whether you're doing waterfall, as long as at the end of each phase, you double check and you determine that that stage is fully completed, then you jump into the next stage. All right. So how is this relevant to what we are doing at the moment? So like I explained to you, all of you now are managers inside the transformation unit office or the innovation office. So in order for you to tell your department, okay, so you have what I mean is you have determined that your company is going to do this type of innovation, this type of product. So you are going to build it. So you have to determine when can you move on to the next stage. Or maybe that's one. Or maybe let's say you are implementing something new. Let's say you're going to have a new system. Example, let's say you are now the structural or the innovation manager or the transformation unit in Aon. Okay, so now you are telling, okay, now Aon is going to apply, so is going to accept e-wallet. Okay, e-wallet. So first you want to test this e-wallet implementation in Ipoh. So stage one is Ipoh. So you implement. Let's say there is some problems, then you have a gate there to tell you that, oh, we cannot implement e-wallet processing to other branches because we have problems. So stage gate process sometimes is used for implementation of new product and services. That means you test it in one place. If there is a problem, you rectify. If that's okay, then you can apply it to the next stage. So let's say e-wallet implementation in Aon Ipoh is good. Okay, there was some problems. You have managed to solve it. Okay, now you open up the gate. You move on to the next branch. Okay, and then you move on to the next branch. Let's say you have come to branch number 3. There is a problem. Maybe something you did not see. It's okay. You have to rectify. Okay, and if that rectification needs to come back to stage 1, so you come back to stage 1. Okay, so that's how what we do as in a stage gate process. All right. Okay, let's look at another overview here. Despite the intense attention paid to innovation, failure rate is very high. Okay, so we understand more than 95% of new product development projects fail to earn economic return. Okay, even though you have already proposed, you have done your study, you have done everything well in your office, you have come up with the best solution, but sometimes whatever you propose can also fail. All right, it can fail for certain reasons. Sometimes it might fail in the beginning, sometimes it might fail towards the end. Okay, sometimes it's just a total failure. Example, if you take RFID for example, at the moment, okay, it might be a failure because yeah, that's quite normal on the first day or the first week of implementation. The it doesn't open up. RFID isn't the tag is not being
Tengah
read.
masuk dah.
The tag is not being read,
Agak lewat 5 minit macam tu lah.
and then the tag is not being read, or maybe people don't understand. Oh, what is RFID? So you have so many issues. Okay, so many issues. So that is why some projects might fail in the beginning only, but some projects might fail towards the end. So we are, even though how much attention you pay to innovation, you pay to the development process, but sometimes products can fail. Okay, so there are certain issues that we need to look at in the development process as to avoid failure. Okay, because sometimes failure can come just before the product implementation. Before implement dah fail pun ada juga. Alright, or maybe what do you say, um, or maybe tengah-tengah buat fail juga. Okay, alright, so let's look at this. Before in mid 1990s, most US companies use sequential new product development process. Okay, what is sequential development process? That means they buat in sequence lah. Siap satu, move to the next one. Complete one, next one. Complete one, next one. Complete one, next one. Right? Then they found out, hey, it's taking so much time. So they went for partial parallel. Buat satu, halfway through, jump to the next one. Buat satu, halfway through, jump to the next one. So obviously, kat sini comparing both situation, you can see parallel is a lot more shorter. Okay, so parallel development process, the development stages overlap. Oh, that's the word, overlap. For example, work starts on the development of the production process before the design is completed. So there's also certain issues. Okay, so 68% of Northern American firms, 58% of European firms, 48% of Japanese firms report using senior executive to champion their new product development. So what it means is they will put somebody, top manager lah kat situ. Or what a champion means is an employee that is dedicated to improving a certain area within the company. All right. So this championee sometimes is involved in the product development or is just to orang kata pembakar semangat. Is just to help you in the product development. He or she is not actually involved in the team, but it's just to manage that the team can do better. Right? A champion in a product development team is not actually a person who's in the team, but he or she is just to make sure that the that the development process is done well and can be done more efficiently. Okay, so that's a champion. So benefits of champion: senior executive have power to fight for the project. They can gain access to resources. They can communicate with multiple areas. So when you have a champion inside your team, so he or she can be the spokesperson because he or she boleh nampak what is the what is the team doing, and at the same time kalau he or she talks to the top management, they will listen lah because these are top managers. Okay. However, risky pun ada juga. There's a risk as well. Risk as well is role of champion may cloud judgment about the project, may suffer from escalating commitments. Others may fear challenging senior executive. Okay, so you put a top guy there, even though he's not involved, he's just to bagi semangat, but his judgment may cloud because he thinks, oh, every project should be this way. Okay, because dia dah top manager kan, so he has been in few projects, so he thinks that all the projects in the world or all the projects in this company should be in this particular format. But sometimes it's different. Now, like we explained yesterday, we talked about yesterday. Yesterday, in the 80s, they're saying that big is better, meaning you have a bigger company is better. But as we go along now, we see smaller is better. Last time you have to have a big company to do well. Now it seems like small is better. Okay, you have small companies are doing way much better than the big companies as well. Okay, so those are something new which is happening at this moment of time. All right. So there are a few examples kat sini that we want to highlight. All right. So in the 1970s, this company, this CEO in a company called Glasgow. Glasgow is a pharmaceutical company. They began to work they began to work on a drug process. Okay. So one of the champions there decided to introduce an improved product and implemented by the first parallel process. So what he did was he implemented the parallel processing lah. All right. So and in the end, the product became faster and you can beat your competitor. So that was the something good which turned out. All right. So some myths about product champion. Projects with champions are more likely to be successful. Okay. That means if you have a champion inside your project, it's likely to become more successful lah. Okay, and they're excited. Okay, myth number 2. Ini semua myth tau. Myth. It could be true, it could not be true as well. Myth number 3. Champions are more likely to be involved with radical innovation projects. Maybe because sometimes they don't see the project like you do, but they have a bigger vision. All right, so it could be helpful as well. All right. And now in the new product development, okay, as for now, previously what we've from before, I mean, since this chapter, we have talked about all the teams inside. All when we develop a new project, we have talked about the team members who are actually inside the company. Okay, this was in the 80s, 90s, but now what we do is we involve customers. At those times, we do not involve customers. But then you might tell me, customers are those people who want the product lah. Betul lah. But actually now we go down into the exact detail of the customers. Example, let's say we go back to Eon lah. Eon tadi, okay. So Eon wants to implement e-wallet. E-wallet apa? Touch and go. Alright. So let's create a scenario for us. So I am working for Touch and Go, and all of you are working for Eon. So I come to you. So Eon, you are my customer. So I tell you, why not you implement Touch and Go e-wallet in your place? Okay. So you as the customer, you agree. You are the customer, Customer. So you agree to implement Touch and Go in your e-wallet, in your payment system. All right. So you are the customer. All right. So now Eon now implements in Eon EPO e-wallet payment system. Okay, involved. All right. But now, so Eon just involves in implementation, but it does not involve Eon punya customer pula. It just does what it feels right. That means Eon is just doing what they feel right. They feel that we need to have an e-wallet and Touch and Go is offering, so they buat lah. So that was the olden days, but now they involve the customers. They do survey, they do social media advertisement. Social media, they use social media, they use Instagram, this all this. So now the new development process style is to involve more customers. They involve more customers. That means it's not only the customer at the top level, they go down right up to the last level of customer. Who is the last person which is going to be involved? Touch and Go is the person who sells the product to Eon. So Eon ialah customer untuk Touch and Go. But actually the last person to actually use the e-wallet, the last customer, is the normal customers like you and me. So now in the new development process, customers are involved already. That means they have customers involvement. They use social media, they use surveys to get what is the what does the customer say about using e-wallet. Okay, so customer is often best able to identify the maximum performance capability and minimum services requirement of the new product. Okay, so what they do is they involve customers. That means they go down right to customers. So when you go back to your organization, so you have to understand, is your organization involving customers? All right, is involving customers. Sometimes customers need not be you and me. I mean a customer, paying customer. Let's take Arif for example. Arif kerja dengan TNB, TNB tak silap saya. Alright. So Arif betul ke Arif? You kerja dengan TNB ke?
Yang kerja dengan TMB saya, Doktor.
Siapa?
Amin.
Amin. Sorry. Amin. Okay, Amin sama A juga tu. Okay. So Amin. So you are also considered the customer because it could be, let's say lah, TNB besar, TNB HQ or TNB Jana Manjung beli satu equipment. Alright? And this equipment is to measure the temperature of the boiler, for example. Okay, so this is their what you see. This is their, they think is relevant. Okay, so Amin sebagai customer. So Amin is actually because he is Amin dalam selalu baca orang kata you read the temperature of the boiler and this and that. So you are as the customer. So you will determine if the new equipment is actually useful or not, or you will determine if the new equipment gives the right sensor, gives the right temperature. So you are also considered a customer. So a customer need not be someone who's outside, who's paying. It need not be those people. A customer can just come to yourself. Okay. So firm will also use beta testing. So mungkin Jana Manjung boleh buat beta testing. That means they give equipment to this division. Okay, now you test it for a certain period of time, and if everything goes well, then we will buy this. Okay. Some studies suggest that it is more valuable to use lead users than random sample of customers. Customers who face the same general needs of the marketplace but experience them earlier than the rest of the market and benefit disappropriately for solution safety helpers. Okay, so what does this mean? Lead users. Lead users are customers who face the same general needs. For example, let's say you want Ion lah. Okay, so you implement. Kenapa kita implement e-wallet di Ipoh? You have to. Kenapa tak implement di KL? Kenapa tak implement or the first implementation di sana? Because these are the lead users. Because if let's say for example, yang kata okay, we want to implement e-wallet. Let's try in Sungai Petani. Takkan jalan. Or let's try in Kampung Gajah. Takkan jalan. Okay, let's say Speedmart kata, oh kita nak buat payment by credit card. Kita nak buat di first cawangan is in Boter kiri, Boter kanan. Memang tak jalan because these are not the lead users. The customers there don't feel the need of experiencing something new. Their customers are already comfortable. So kalau kita buat implementation kat sana, sure fail. So that's why we have to do the implementation in a place yang generally everyone feels the same. Okay, customers who face the same general needs of the marketplace but experience them earlier than the rest of the market and benefit from the solution. So that means they will benefit from that, but they experience it earlier. So these are what we say as the lead users. Okay, lead users. All right. You can also do another form of involvement of customers using crowdsourcing. Okay, firms can also open up an innovation task to public through crowdsourcing, where people voluntarily contribute their ideas or effort, platform, and so. Okay, so these days you don't have to actually have a team or duduk 3 hari 2 malam kat hotel and think, okay, what is going to be our next innovation. No, you don't have to do that. Small firms, what they do is, if you look at small firms maksud saya, it can be bakery ke, kedai catering ke. Okay, they want to innovate. Okay, but they don't have a R&D team lah. So what they do is they use social media and they use crowdsourcing. They put out a question there: how can I innovate, or what do you think about our ideas? So they use crowdsourcing. They don't have a team, so the team, they will ask anyone. So people will give them suggestions. People will maybe give them ideas. So this is what we say as crowdsourcing. Okay, because sometimes if you get your own ideas within your department, you might get the same idea. Kalau Encik Amin, yelah, Encik Amin dah kerja dengan TNB for about 10 years plus. So obviously dia ada banyak idea lah dalam in engineering. But sometimes his ideas are limited to TNB. So why not come up with crowdsourcing? But the disadvantage of crowdsourcing is, yalah, you open up your history lah. Okay. But small firms are okay to do crowdsourcing. Contohnya, let's say I have a bakery. Okay, I want to expand. Saya nak buat a new cake, but I don't know what cake to do. Sekarang ni biasalah bakery kecil ni, they will do a cake based on demand and based on trend. A few months ago, trend dia ialah pandan. Okay, so now they want to know what's the latest trend. Okay, so they can come up with it, they can use social media and they can ask crowdsourcing. Okay, what is the latest trend? What is the best cake? Or what is the most unique cake design have you all seen? So people post lah. Oh, tengok ni, I found this current cake. So these small firms will get an idea. Oh, why not we use this? Why not we use this? The benefit of using crowdsourcing and Google, what's the difference? Google, okay, let's say kita type Google, okay, funny cake design, kita dapat lah, we will see lah funny cake design. But if you use crowdsourcing, you can get ideas and you can get experience from them. It's an experience from them. Okay, they will experience, oh, so you can get experience. Someone will say, oh, saya pernah makan this cake in so and so, it's very nice, but it's not too sweet, it's not, oh, so you get, okay, you get ideas to innovate your product. So those are how they use crowdsourcing to improve their product. Okay, let's go on. Okay, all right. So stage gate process. Okay, stage gate process. You have the idea. Okay, okay. As I explained to you, each stage goes through several gates, from the idea screening right up to the launching of a product. So these are stage gate process. So you want to improve this product in each stage. You want to improve it, and once it's okay, only then you go through the gate and you go to the next stage. Okay, all right. Other than that, okay, these are some examples. I'm sure you can read it on your. Okay, all right. So that's on chapter 11. All right. You have any questions for me before we stop for a short break? Short break. All right. Let's stop for a short break, and once we come back, we'll continue with chapter. Let me see where are we now. Chapter 12. Okay. So let's stop now. We'll come back at 10:15. Okay, 10:15. All right. All right. I'll see you at 10:15. Thank you so much. Okay. So now let's move on to the last chapter for today. Chapter 12. We're talking about managing teams. Okay. So just now we addressed how to manage the product. Okay, that means we are talking about the development process, how to you manage it. But now we are looking at the teams block. Okay, how we manage our teams? Are we going to have a big team throughout the whole company, or are we just going to have small teams which will be placed in each subdivision? Okay, there are two scenarios. Is like this. We can have a big R&D team, which is for the whole department, or for the whole company, or we might have small development teams in each subdivision, each unit. So there are two possibilities here. Okay, so let's look at this. Okay, in the early stages, of the innovation team, these are some of the stories that it's noted here. They used, especially in Disney, Walt Disney Company, they use small development teams. Okay, small development teams, and the basic idea of having small development teams is to keep it small, to keep it fast. So that was the basic idea. They were creating small teams so that these teams are independent and they can do their work themselves. All right. So, but in many organizations now we have cross-functional teams. Cross-functional teams are teams which have members from different divisions, different departments. Okay, just to manage a new product. Okay, let's say the organization or your company is doing a new project. Okay, so you will have someone from finance, someone from HR, all managing, all sitting in a team, just to complete the idea. There are considerable variation of how these teams are formed and managed. Okay, so we are going to look at the size, composition, structure, administration, and leadership of the teams. Who will actually lead this particular team? Because this team is not coming from the same type of people; they are cross-functional people. Okay, so let's look at teams. How big a team is? How big a team should be? Okay, so again, as you can see, point number 2 here, bigger is not always better. Large teams create more administrative cost and communication problem. Okay, so these are what we say as well, we have learned it yesterday. Bigger are not better. Okay, that means how big your team is, even if you have it, even if you have a big team, but actually you're talking about administrative costs and some other communication problems. Okay, but what is important is the composition of the team. You should have good people from each department so that you want to get the product done as soon as possible. Okay, so we are also looking at diversity of functional background. That means, let's say you have a team and these teams should be coming from each division, and how much experience does each team member have is also considered very good. What is this chapter talking about? Well, we are looking at the development team, because in the previous chapter we talked about the product. So now we know that, okay, the product needs to be developed on time. This is the way. But how about teams? So this chapter is actually talking about how we are going to structure our teams. So should our teams have 4 members, 5 members? Who should be the members in our team? So that this is all going to be talked about in this chapter. Okay, so there are also things like brainstorming. So why do we brainstorm? Obviously, we brainstorm in each team because we want to get the best idea. But inside brainstorming, there's also three disadvantage, or three main reasons lah. Sometimes why orang kata, brainstorming does not work, because sometimes when you have diversified people in your team, you may fear of being judgmental. That means, takutlah if you give an idea, people might say, oh, what kind of idea is that? Or maybe one person might be just blocking other people's talking, so you have production blocking. Or maybe uh, the group tends to weight feasible more highly than original. That means the group itself, you know, sometimes when you have when you have groups coming out of so many people, janji, they're trying. This is more favorable rather than is orang kata it's much more favorable to them lah, rather than the actual thing as well. Okay, all right. Now let's look at what kind of boundaries you have in spanning any team. So in this company, they studied in this project organization company, they studied 45 new product development teams to identify the roles of team members engaged into to collect information and resources within and beyond the firm. They found three primary types. Okay, so when you are in the team, you either can become the ambassador of the team, task coordinator, or scouting. So when you are the ambassador, meaning you are actually not to say you're heading the team, but you are also looking for other team members to represent the team so that project can move faster. Or maybe you can be the coordinator of the team. That means you coordinate all the activities so that everyone knows what they're doing. Because we have to understand, in this particular new product development team, it's coming from a few types of departments, a few cross-functional departments. Or maybe you are scouting, scanning for ideas. So your job in this team is just to get ideas from people and to make sure that these ideas are followed through. So these are some of the activities that can happen in what we say in a new product development team. All right. Okay. So now let's look at what a few types of new product development teams that we have: functional, lightweight, okay, heavyweight, autonomous. Okay. So each of these teams, although yes, it's a cross-functional, but it is what you say. Um, the reporting style is different. In this functional, is no cross-functional. Okay, dia tak ada cross. That means everyone is within themselves, but everyone reports to one CEO. This is the normal scenario in every company lah. Okay, functional. That means if there's any projects to be done, the CEO will give the shots. Okay, CEO akan kata, okay, now let's do this project, and I take people from these teams below here. Okay, so now let's look at lightweight. Lightweight also, yes, there's minimal cross-functional because all report to the project manager. So there'll be one member here, one or two members here, one or two members here, reporting to a project manager, which actually reports to the CEO. Next, you also have heavyweight. Okay, that means you have an assistant project manager in each of these functionals. Okay, or maybe you have autonomous. That means, okay, you have these people are just reporting to any assistants here. What is this in here? This one means it could be they're just reporting to a different head, okay, different members, okay, which is they're doing their own what do you say, their own not to say their own development, but they're making their decisions themselves. Okay, so this is autonomous development team. So each of these new product development teams are based on the types of projects that the company is handling. So if your company is doing a new product development, so you might want to consider which is the most relevant type. Okay, let's say you're buying an equipment. Buying an equipment is also types of process product. So you need people from the engineering department. You need people from the human resource, because who is going to handle this new equipment? You need people from the finance because there are payment issues. So all of this needs to put together. So you need a project manager to foresee everything, to see that okay, buying of this equipment is needs to be done here and here. And this is how we're going to do it. Or let's say you're doing a new data center. Okay, kena beli equipment, kena beli server, kena beli PC, kena beli switch, router, all this, and you have to fix all together. So you need a project manager. Then you need to make sure everything is in order. So you need the maintenance guy also there. Okay, so there's so many issues to be talked as well. Okay, so each of them we have covered this now: functional, lightweight, heavyweight, and autonomous. And now we go on to leadership skills of each team. Okay, so each of these type of what do you say, type of teams have their own leadership styles lah. Okay, leadership styles. Some it could be responsible for the activities, maintaining the alignment, so that the projects of the teams can be based on their goals and they communicate well with senior management. And then we look at team administration. Okay, how these teams are administered, because as you can see here just now, they're reporting to CEO. So how is this reporting done is also very, very important. All right. Let's see what else. Okay. Next, we have these are some terms lah. Contract book. Contract book is the detailed plan lah. That means you have this. Now you have the cross-functional team. So what is the responsibility of each and everyone? So you have this contract book. Everyone will look at it. Is the basic idea lah. Ini macam kalau in your company you have your book yang kata macam your KPI every year. So again, this is applicable to each team member. All right, and then you move on now. Now we have virtual teams, same thing, but people are working virtually. I think this is very relevant now with this current pandemic. Everyone is working from home, so those are the issues as well. So how do you manage this? Because people are now working in at home, and how and it could be if you're working all in Malaysia, then it's still fine because you're all even though you're working from different locations, but you're all still here. But just imagine if you're working in other countries around the world and you're working virtually. So again, you have to manage your time, task, and you need to make sure everyone has the same contract book and follow the contract book accordingly. All right. So those are some things that you think of when you are designing. What do you say? When you're looking at developing when you're looking at development teams for new products. Okay, all right. So that's all for today. Very short chapter. This is a very, very short chapter. Okay, so we have covered so far. We have covered chapter 11 and 12. All right. So next thing I need to highlight to you is your exam, which is happening next week. Okay, so your exam, which is happening next week, covers up to chapter 12. Okay, covers up to chapter 12, but mostly focusing on 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, sorry, mostly focusing on 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Not to say yang lain tak masuk juga, but mostly focusing on the last 4 chapters. And I'm not looking for any written answers. Okay, I'm not going to ask you, okay, what is new product development? No. I'm not asking you for that. I'm going to ask you more of your work scenario. How did you handle this scenario in your office? I want to see examples from your organization. I want to see that you have, if you don't have examples, I want you to come up with some examples from real life examples, okay? So that I need to understand that I need to know that you understand what we have covered so far. Okay, that is what I'm looking for. There won't be any much of theory, theory questions. What is it? What is that? Tak ada lah. Okay, master's level, tak ada soalan-soalan itu. But we are looking at how you come up with answer proper case studies lah. So these are what we are looking for. Okay, so again, your your test will be next Saturday at 2:30, 3 hours, 3, 4, 5, okay, until 5:30. Probably I will extend until 6:30 lah. Okay, and then your group assignment presentation will be on 30 hari bulan, Sunday next week. Group assignment, okay. And what you are going to present is the group assignment number 2, okay, case study 2. And then the report is due on the group assignment number 2 ni, due dia is on the 6th of February, but group assignment number 1, the due is on the 5th of February. If you are unable to submit the reports on time, please let me know and then we can work out on a different date. But your test and your presentation next week is fixed. Kita tak boleh ubah dah. Okay, it has to be Saturday and Sunday next week. Your presentation and your test. Unless ada yang beranak lagi lah, ataupun ada yang kahwin, dan tak boleh buat apa lah. Setakat ni, I don't think ada yang nak beranak lagi, baru ada seorang tu baru beranak. So, itulah. That's all for today. Any questions? Cik Izani, Ibu, okay?
Ya, yang study case tu,
Okey, doktor.
Ya, Cik Amin?
yang case study tu yang untuk group tu punya presentation kan?
Yes.
Assignment. Yang tu tajuk boys dengan group girls tak boleh sama lah.
Yes, pandai-pandai lah pilih.
So kita kena discuss juga lah antara group ni, jangan pilih yang sama.
Jangan boleh. Tak payah discuss lah, awak pakai kuasa veto je Cik Amin. Cakap, aku dah pilih ni. Yes, Cik Izani tadi ada soalan ke?
Tak ada doktor, everything okay.
Okay.
Baby tidur semua okay.
Okay. Puan Nora okay? Alright.
Okey doktor, okey.
Cik Syafiq, mata dah okay ke?
Dah okey lah doktor, alhamdulillah.
Boleh. Vision 3 apa? Vision 6/6
Present 6.
Tak. Maksud saya vision mata tu 6/6.
Vision. 6/6 lah. Alhamdulillah.
Okay. Puan Izzati okay?
Okay doktor.
Saya rasa dalam kelas saya paling senyap saya nak bagi anugerah pada Puan Izzati lah. I think paling senyap dia lah kot. Ya ke? Alright. So I will leave you for today and make sure you start working on your group assignment. Push until the end. Jangan fikirkan, memang we will think kenapalah aku buat masters ni. Itu perasaan biasa. But apa nak buat, you dah masukkan satu kaki. So dah masuk sebelah kaki, kena terus lagi lah. Alright. So I'll leave you for today. Thank you so much Puan Nora, Cik Amin, Cik Izani, Puan Izzati and Cik Syafiq. And insyaAllah I will see you next week for your test. I won't see you next week for your test. I'll see you test online je. I'll put up the questions in UFuture dalam bentuk PDF. You download and then you type, kena type. And then I will let you know kalau soalan tu perlu di submit to turn it in atau original. Okay, I will let you know about that. Okay, dalam minggu ni juga.
Okay doktor.
Alright, thank you so much. Dengan itu, I will leave you for today. Saya akan teruskan dengan my nasi kandar hopping. Awak semua tengok je lah.